Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a Victory Thursday, a big Thursday, a buy or sell Thursday, where we have a bunch of stuff to get to today. Steve Sarkisian had his local media availability today ahead of Mississippi State. Still no word on Quinn Ewers, and we'll talk about that. I think Anwar's going to have a report tonight in the War Room, but Cody, before we get into that, before we get into buy or sell, before we get into some of the stuff that you've uncovered about this matchup versus Mississippi State, just right off the top, I think we should just hit on Ewers. Based on what Sark said today, he's like, man, it's not going to be a secret whenever we decide, but we just haven't decided yet. We want to see how he reacts to another day of practice and how he feels after Friday's practice and all this stuff. He's like, I have a feeling that it's the same way that I felt yesterday. Is that they really don't, like my guy I was talking to earlier this week. He's like, I hope he plays. I think he might. I think that they really just still think that he truly is questionable. And for me, if he truly is questionable and if he's feeling any kind of soreness, they just shouldn't play him.
That's fair. I would agree with you 100%. The trend that we've heard and that it sounds like, based on Anwar's first report this week being 50-50 and Sark not being definitive about it, would tend to lead me to him not playing and being smart with the bye approaching and all of the injuries that do exist currently. And the fact that I feel we wouldn't have heard Sark say the words, Trey Owens had his best practice as a Longhorn today.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
If he was working on the scout team.
Yeah,
specifically.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. That's a good pull. Yeah. I don't think Quinn's going to play. I'd say this. I think
he's doubtful. I think the paper's going to
come out because I think that they really do feel like they're gonna take it up to the last minute just to see. I think that they really do feel like that. I just think they're going to end up. I don't think they end up playing him.
I think they're going to prepare him as if he's going to play, but they're not going to play him. Like, they're going to take him up. It's just, I hate to ever mention, like, I hate like the fact of where Weigman is in his career right now. I don't want to put these two guys in the same sentence, but if you remember 3 weeks ago when Weigman was a true game time decision, they took it up to pregame, and then Weigman went out there and was in his full pregame garb and threw and stuff, and then they said, nope, he's not playing. Like, I feel like that's the process. They should ramp Quinn up and then just see what he, like a true game time, but really just ramp him up and be like, all right, man, get ready as if you're playing. And then if he's like, yeah, I feel like I could go, they'd be like, all right, well, guess what? We don't need you to go.
Isn't it weird that either the sports books just, they just don't. Do you think that the sports books changed the line at all for Quinn versus Arch?
Not in a game like this.
Would you, if you were running the book?
Not in a game like this.
Why not?
If it was in a Mississippi State Texas game, I wouldn't shift the total. I wouldn't shift the line. In a game against Oklahoma or Georgia, I might shift it 1.5 into Quinn's favor.
What is it? Just why?
Because he's a veteran in those situations.
Oh, you're saying versus a tougher team versus a tougher defense.
Bingo.
Tougher opponent that they can. Yeah.
Against Oklahoma or Georgia, I think you get 1.5, maybe 2 out of playing Quinn over Arch.
Yeah. No.
Against a Georgia or Oklahoma. Against Mississippi State, I don't think it matters.
I like this take from the Leo B. This is almost like the Leo B. This is almost exactly how I feel. I think the fact that Sarge Wendell Moore is more of a sign that they really did want to give Quinn the chance to play, which is what he said, and they wanted to play if he can. But I don't know. Look, we'll talk more about the press conference, but that's kind of the big news from the day, right? Is that the other big news? It looks like Texas is not going to get Javion Hilson or the other guy in. The A&M guy, what was it? Chance Sims, not going to get him in this weekend.
Yep.
Do you think that says anything about Sims?
Well, I think he's a 3-star defensive tackle from A&M, and he saw our thumbnail an hour ago, and then he said, "I'm not going."
Yeah, we had the thumbnail already because he'd been planning all week to come into the game, but so we said like, is this going to be a flip from A&M? We thought we'd have a good thumbnail for that, so we had to change it to kind of go with one of our buy or sell questions about this kind of upcoming NFL draft stuff for these guys. So I'll be interested to hear what Jason says about that in the war room. But to me, it was like the reason I thought it was so intriguing was that it's a anytime an A&M commit is going to come to on a true official to a Texas game where he gets like the whole weekend and stuff like that. That's the kind of thing where we could end up hearing some kind of alarm bells on Sunday morning that we got to write a story about a new commitment and stuff like that. But we'll see if anything happens with him. So we're not going to discuss that stuff too much. What about that you let's see. No, they're both planning on going to the George game because of the hurricane. No, that's Hilson. Hey, speaking of the hurricane, Cody, is that thing going to blast you on the way out? I just saw that.
I'm not going to get blasted nearly as bad as it was before. I don't think we're going to get any type of flooding, but we're definitely expected to get a ton of rain. And then rain started about noon today, and dude, I wish you could just ship some of that rain that you all get to the hill country, man. You get too much of it out there. It was funny. Our landlord is a really cool dude, but so there's a house in the front and a house in the back. You ever come out, you'll see it, you'll understand it. We have a great spot, but his house is empty in front of us. He went up to Asheville, North Carolina to live for the year up in the mountains. And he's like texting. He's like, "Yo, what's it like? Is the storm heavy? Is it coming in, or what is it?" Because he's like 4 hours north of us, so he's gonna get hit after us. And I was like, "Yo, man, this rain we're getting right now, this is some consensual rain. Like it is, it's." And my wife goes, "What do you mean consensual?" And I go, "I like it. It's good rain. I accept it because it's not harsh. It's elegant. It's good rain." And she's like, "You are maniacal." I was like, "What is good rain? What are we talking about here?"
Just thoughts and prayers to anybody that's in the way that I saw just got upgraded to a category 4. So
yeah, Tampa's already got some. I got a couple buddies in Tampa, and of course Byron was in Tampa. I think Byron got his way out of Tampa, but there's some Tampa's going to get hit.
Yeah, I think if you're around, I mean, you don't got to listen to me to tell you to go evacuate if you're there. I'm sure you've already done that, but
some guy in the hill country of Texas is telling me to evacuate. Better evacuate.
We'll be keeping you guys in our prayers and your property and your pets and stuff too. All right. What do you have on Mississippi State, Cody?
So in my column I put up on Orange Bloods yesterday, kind of just like some players to watch and stuff. Some of the opposite here is I know PFF is cockamamie, but I did pull up some statistics that I thought were at least this is why I do. Use PFF is to compare things in a vacuum or comparable things, right? So Texas has played Michigan, La Monroe, Colorado State, and UTSA so far. And I compared on PFF, you can sort with those teams in mind. So I selected those teams and I selected Mississippi State from an edge rushing perspective.
How do you do that? You can put them in groups like that?
Yeah, so you go to premium stats and then you can go to 2024 and then they have an option. You click all 134 teams. You can click the conferences, etc. So I clicked Michigan, La Monroe, UTSA, Colorado State, and I added Mississippi State. When you sort this for the edge rushers by pressures, Michigan has 2 guys, La Monroe has 3 guys, Colorado State has 2 guys, and UTSA has 2 guys, all ahead of the first Mississippi State guy. And
how many pressures does he have?
He has 6 in 4 games. Their second guy has 5 in 4 games. Again, Colorado State has 3 guys with more than 5.
Who's the best on the whole list? Is it Josiah Stewart?
Yes, 15. So the reason I did this, and people are like, what's this list even mean? Like all it is for you to rationalize what type of a defense we're playing against. So you can see from an edge rushing perspective, neither of these edge rushers, DeMonte Russell or Brandon Jennings, create near the pressure that the Michigan guys did, of course. Billy Pullen last week from La Monroe. Neither of the Colorado State guys, nor any of the UTSA guys. Like this edge rushing group is the worst, in quotations, that Texas will have played to this point.
And Cam Williams and Kelvin Banks have not all season between the two of them. I don't know what PFF says, but by my count, neither one of them has allowed a pressure or a sack or anything like that this year. Kelvin Banks has allowed Kelvin Banks has had one penalty. Cam Williams has had 5 penalties and five penalties and one run stuff. But as far as what I have, I don't have either of those. Does PFF does? I guess I can look it up later. I'd be curious if PFF.
It would take me about a minute and a half of airtime to find that now. But
it's
I trust your data anyway on that perspective more than I would theirs. So I looked up. I didn't look up defensive tackle pressures. What I did for the defensive tackles was I looked up the defensive rushing grades. So run defense grades.
God. Well, here we go.
Here's the grades. Now again, grades are not a real statistic. It's a what's the word I'm looking for?
A cockamamie piece of garbage.
A cockamamie concoction of whatever. But it's the reason I bring it up, of course, is because you're in a vacuum. You have to believe that these guys are grading on the same scale. So as far as that goes, these guys are all graded on the same scale. So defensive tackles, run defense grade. UL Monroe, I don't know what I was about to say. That just my brain just went empty. Mason Graham is first here in run defensive grade. Ike Iwanu from Michigan is third. So Michigan has 4 guys in the top 10. Colorado State has 2 guys in the top 10. UTSA has 3 guys in the top 10. Mississippi State's best defensive tackle is number 10. UL Monroe's best defensive tackle comes in at number 11. And then there's 3 more Mississippi State guys, 12, 13, 14 in run defense grade. None of them are above a 70 in grade. And those 3 I just mentioned are 63 and 62s in run defense, according to PFF.
So you're saying that ULM is graded worse. ULM is graded worse than Mississippi State.
Yes, technically. Okay. I mean, so like I said, 1 through 9 is neither Mississippi State or UL Monroe. UL Monroe has number 11 and 15. Mississippi State has 10, 12, 13, 14. So they're all sub 70s. But yeah, Monroe, technically, the 2 guys are worse than the 4 for Mississippi State.
Mississippi State stinks.
Still not good. Cornerbacks. According to PFF, Mississippi State has the worst starting cornerbacks that Texas has played in 2024. Texas is currently 13th in the country, averaging 9.9 yards per pass attempt. Michigan has 3, the top 3, I should say, in coverage grade, according to PFF, 1, 2, 3. Colorado State has 4 and 6. UL Monroe has number 5. Mississippi State's best cornerback comes in at number 7. That's Bryce Pollock, number 14. He's a 68 grade. And then UTSA has the next 2, and then Monroe, and then 11th overall is Mississippi State. So this defensive back or this cornerback duo is comparable to and actually slightly worse than the UL Monroe duo.
But are they better than but are the Colorado State guys better?
Both Colorado State guys are graded higher than the best Mississippi State guy.
Yeah, because Colorado State actually, I mean, their secondary is actually not, that wasn't a terrible secondary. I guess it was more the safeties that I kind of liked better, though, right, than the corners.
I guess as far as grade goes, you would compare this duo to UTSA and say, yeah, about the same. They're about the same. They've both played similar amounts of snaps, and it's some concoction of Monroe and UTSA as far as the back end goes. It's not good. We'll just put it that way. This is, as far as all 3 groups, edge, interior, defensive backs, I could confidently say, as far as PFF's grades and statistics will tell you, this is the worst defense that they've played from an output standpoint to this point. From a skill standpoint, I would still say it's probably Monroe the worst, but Mississippi State has underwhelmed considerably through the first 4 games.
I'm so tilted. There's a listener named Jason who sent in some emails to the FWF emails at gmail.com, dove hunting photos of him and what looks like his very sweet daughter. But if you're watching, Jason, I really want to show these photos, but they're so tiny, man. Can you send some? Can you send some bigger photos? These these are too small to put up on the screen. But if they were bigger, I could tell, but it looks like you guys had some fun. So thanks for reaching out. You can reach us fwfemails@gmail.com if you want to get with the show or have any suggestions or any questions or concerns or anything like that. We would love to hear from you. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, we'd certainly love to hear from you. fwfemails@gmail.com. All right, Cody. Any of these other bad players from or anything else from the column that you wanted to touch on?
No, I think I guess players to watch, like we could talk about tomorrow, but I think the one guy I'd be interested to hear. Have you watched any Mississippi State offense?
Yes.
Did you know which wide receiver did you notice? Did you notice any of them? Like any of them stand out?
Let me pull up. I'll just where can I find a depth chart? Maybe on RLads. Oh yeah, hold on. Let me see.
You thinking like you have numbers in your head?
It's the one. Yeah, there's one. I just need to see what their numbers are. But don't tell me. I'll tell you the one that I like best.
Do you like the freaky athlete or the speedy guy?
Oh man,
athlete.
To be honest, man, I think I liked the Jordan Mosley better, number 6.
I think he's a little more freaky. Coleman's a burner.
He's the one who had the touchdown in the left corner of the end zone right before Shapen went out.
Yeah.
Or wait, was that? Yeah, that was from Shapen. I think it was 6, but I remember thinking 3 was okay. Was that the other one?
3 is Kevin Coleman. He was actually at Jackson State. He was a top 10 ranked player in the 2022 recruiting class. He went to Jackson State with Shadur and Dion that first year, and then he transferred to Louisville, and now he's at Mississippi State. He's pretty fast, I would say, and he's pretty talented. Mosley is he hasn't technically broken out yet, but he was at Northwestern for a couple years, and then was like the 4th in the pecking order last year. But he's having his best start to his career right now. I think that the one thing about this team, like obviously they lost their starting back. The one thing that I just noticed, and the three of the 4 players I put on here to watch, usually I have like a corner or something. Like I put all 3 receivers: Kevin Coleman, Jordan Mosley, and Kelly Akiarii. I don't know how to say that. He was targeted 4 times when Van Buren came in at the end of that last game, and that was like his most targeted player, and he had 1,000 yards at UTEP last year. So
it goes to show you how good RLads is. They don't even have him listed.
Akiarii? Yee.
I don't see anybody with some cockamamie name like this.
Kelly, Akharayii.
Oh wait, okay, but they have him on. But okay, well they still have him on injured. They have him on some kind of injured reserve list or something. So
unless he got hurt this week because he played last week, he was targeted by Van Buren.
Okay, so who knows, man? It's like our lads. Like just look at their depth chart for Texas, and it'll tell you like how how much in depth attention they give these depth charts, man.
Look at Scott. He goes, the guy with the A last name is the best.
Yeah, dude. For sure.
Yeah, he's a UTEP guy. He was on the Biletnikoff Award watch list.
We have to talk about Sark and the stuff that he said today, and just make sure that we have all of that lined up. Just kind of the same way that you need to get your beef lined up over at Texas Beef Traders. Just make sure that you get over there. It's too good, the beef at Texas Beef Traders. TexasBeefTraders.com. You can go into the store, go into the shop. It's like such a great experience to go into the shop. If I didn't have these shows from 6 to 7 every night, we're here on Football with Friends, I would be in there just like I used to be in there every Friday nights to hang out with my friends, drink beers, and eat steaks because Darren just wants everybody to have fun. So it's like he'd be like, "What do you want? Let's cook up a ribeye." It's like here we go. Like, really? Is it free? He's like, "Yeah, man. We just want you to taste the meat." It really is that kind of experience if you go in there. So just so you know that, but you get 10% off. It's everything's all natural, non-GMO, organic. It's like going to the farmer's market, but it's like because the meat gets brought in every single week, but it's cheaper than the grocery store for a lot of these cuts. It's better for you, it's cheaper than grocery store, and you get 10% off whenever you tell them that you heard about Texas Beef Traders here on Football with Friends. We're trying to put together the watch party, or not the watch party, the live show. Cody, we're still trying to get that figured out, right? Yeah, there's a QR code there. If you want Cody to come in for a live show again for the Georgia game, if Texas Beef Traders, free food, free beer, come hang out with us before and after the show. We'll throw some cornhole or watch whatever Friday night games.
You don't have to do anything. You don't have to pay. You don't have to sign up. Nothing. Just literally drop your name in here and just say, yes, I will be there. All you have to do is click that and just let us know that, so we can plan for RSVP for.
Yes. And if you can't make it into Texas Beef Traders, if you live if you live in, far north Austin or something like that, and you can't make it in to take advantage of these great meats, of these great discounts, 10% off, just call up there, make an order. They'll just drive it over to your house. They're not going to charge you any delivery fees or anything like that. It's super cool people. Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com, right there off Loman's Crossing in the heart of Lakeway.
Hey, Alex. I was just smiling here a second ago because, as you know, I do like a good dog. Did you see this Malik Nabers? Thursday Night Football tonight. Dog, discipline, attitude, will, and grit.
Oh, dude. Yeah, dude. There's no meow meow with that guy. Did you listen to
Yes.
Did you listen to Belichick?
Yes.
Are you worried about it? He's like, soon the NFL is going to catch on, and you just can't keep you can't keep letting him do this. Teams are going to realize, like, if he had to face Belichick would shut him down. He'd say, "Dude, come beat me with Darius Slayton, or wait, Slayton's hurt this week. Come beat me with Wan'Dale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt."
No.
What? So you're not worried?
No, because nobody's smart enough to do that.
Okay, yeah, maybe not.
Brian Flores might do that. Belichick would do that. There's a few guys out there that are everybody else. You have to remember, and you know this. A lot of these guys got big egos. A lot of these coaches got big egos. A lot of these quarterbacks have big egos.
Yeah, man. No, I get it.
And it's like, what do you think? Tonight it's Cowboys and Giants. Do you think Trayvon Diggs is going, I'm locking this kid up. I'm picking Daniel Jones off. Like, what they should do is they should have Trayvon on him, and they should have Malik Hooker over top, right? And just completely shut him down and make Daniel Jones throw football elsewhere. But what are they probably going to do? They're probably going to have Trayvon over there one-on-one, jumping routes. And what's probably going to happen? He's probably going to throw a pick, and he's also probably going to give up a touchdown.
Who do you think? Do you think the Cowboys just blow them out tonight? Just before we get to Sark, I'm just curious. Like, how do you see it playing out for Prize Picks? I really like I guess I'd have to check the weather to see it. Don't listen to this South End Zone Queen, because if I get it wrong, I don't want you yelling. But dude, I do think that I think it's time for CeeDee Lamb to have a big game.
Yep.
So I took the more on CeeDee Lamb, and I correlated it with Dak just to go more. And then I just said, I brought it back on the other side. I'm like, dude, maybe to keep it going back and forth, I was like, I'll just put Nabers on more for whatever his was. I think it was 72.5.
That's just, I'm a little middling on this game. And I wanted to bring it up in the Circa Millions, but I just I can't trust the Cowboys yet. I can't trust them yet. I think this Giants defense is still really pretty good, and I think that they're going to be able to cause pressure on them.
Good? What do you think they're good?
The front five or the front four are really good.
What does the matchup tool say about that? Hold on.
My eyeballs tell me the Cowboys offensive line is middling at best, and that Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and Big Boy in the middle, Dexter Lawrence, are going to have a fine day.
Is Lawrence back? Wasn't Lawrence limited this week or something?
I don't care. They had 8 sacks last week against the freaking Browns.
Yeah. I think that the matchup tool does like Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, because it's giving a decent matchup for opposing wide receivers, but a tougher one for opposing quarterbacks. And I know what that just means that the matchup tool fears the edge rush. So that's the only. But dude, I think the Cowboys they got to get right tonight. Like, this is gonna maybe tonight we'll know with this team. I came into last week thinking, all right, we're getting to see him play the Ravens. Finally, this is going to be a great game for me to begin to understand what exactly the Ravens are this year and what exactly the Cowboys are this year. And then they come out, and it's the weirdest, most cockamamie tilting game whenever you have to do this stuff where you have to declare your onside kick and you have to be eligible for your onside kick and this big comeback. And Mark Andrews only runs 12 routes. And it's just, and you're just like, well, what exactly are we doing? Like, Zeke Elliott, whose legs look like total dust. It's just like, well, what exactly are these teams again? Are they even good? We learned nothing from that game.
Yeah,
nothing actionable.
Yeah,
so maybe we'll learn something. Maybe we'll learn something tonight. But man, it's like, dude, it's like I don't know what the Giants are. They're coming off a win versus Cleveland. It's like it's tilting to me. I hope we might be able to figure out just a little bit more about this team.
I don't know if we will. If we shouldn't find anything out. It should be literally like a 38-10 game is what it should be. And that's not going to tell us a dang thing about either team other than, well, actually it's not going to tell us a dang thing about Dallas, but it's going to tell us, yep, New York still isn't good. And Joe Shane still should have drafted Jaden Daniels.
Oh, yeah. So for Sark, he says that the preparation hasn't changed. They've been consistent all week with it's the same kind of thing. They were asking about, somebody was asking like, coach, what about the running backs? What about the running backs? Has the routine changed for them? He's like, no, it's the same as practice like we normally do. And I always want to tell these reporters, I'm just like, dude, don't you guys go to practice? I've seen you at practice whenever it's open. Don't you understand? They don't ever take guys to the ground. All it ever is thud. It's like sometimes coaches just must get so tilted with this media, man. Just, it's like, dude, like I let you come to these practices. You don't take anything away from it.
We practice how we practice.
Yeah.
Best part of the whole press conference.
He was asked about just the running backs in general and the clear, it's just the ongoing narrative, the amount of injuries. And he's just like, well, he did say, I thought it was interesting. He said, man, we had Christian Clark and we had CJ Baxter both go down to our fall camp. So we've kind of been in this mode where we've sort of felt like we've had to preserve guys, or, you know what I mean? Felt like we've had to be in a situation where we're managing the runners to a certain degree. Right. And so like, it's nothing new to us this week, but then again, dude, it feels kind of new to have Wisner banged up, even like Colin Page, he's doubtful. Velton Gardner is out. It's like this is going to be Jaden Blue's going to have to play a whole lot. He played a ton last week, man. Right. Jarrett Gibson's going to have to play a ton this week.
He's not on the report, but he got banged up last week.
That's true.
Actually,
was he on the report yesterday?
No, 2 weeks ago. No, 2 weeks ago. Remember, you saw him get hit, and when you watched it back, and you were like, "Oh my gosh, knee!" And then he didn't nothing. And then last week he came, hobbling off, and it was like, "Oh crap!" And he wasn't on the report. And now this week, it's Baxter's already out, of course. Christian Clark's already out. Velton Gardner's out. Colin Page is doubtful. Trey Wisner's out. So that questionable. So that literally is like Blue and Gibson, and then you're Nick Sanders?
Well, Niblett.
There you go. Well, you know what? It might not be the worst thing if Niblett was a 10-touch guy in this game.
I have a buy or sell about that here in a little while. I think I know what you're going to say. I think you're onto this. You're onto the same. You're sniffing what I'm putting out there, I think. So all right. So they asked Sark about the UNLV stuff, right? So the national media asked him about it yesterday. He didn't want to comment on it at all, right? To the national media. I think with the local media in more of a closed session, and also having a day to kind of maybe understand what the situation is there with that stuff. He said, this is what he said. And look, this isn't exactly paraphrasing him. I was just taking notes as fast as I could. But he basically said, ultimately, when you make an agreement, you have to follow through. And that's for both parties. In this day and age, you agree to something and if you feel better than what your value is, no, he didn't say that. Basically what he's saying is like, if you agree to something and then you get to feel better about what your value is, right? Throughout like a few games, right? You feel like your value is higher than what you agreed to. He said, you don't get to take your ball and go home. He said, and when we get into revenue sharing, next year and the years following, he said, like contracts are a thing, right? And as you do better, maybe you earn more, but that's in a contract and that's something that you agreed to, right? And he said, so if there's something that you agree to, you have to follow through. Whatever you agree to, you have to follow through. And he said, that's just not in football, but that's in all aspects. He basically said that's in all aspects of life. It's kind of a good life lesson, right? You agree to something, you commit to something. It was when my parents, I mean, I don't know how many times you heard this from your folks growing up, Cody, but for me, it was just like, it's like, no, you committed to it. You're going, you're too lazy for football practice today. No, you committed. Like you committed to it. You can't you agreed to it. What are you even thinking? Of course you can't. Of course you can't miss practice. They would look at me like I was ridiculous. So I think the UNLV guys were ridiculous.
Why? Players or coaches?
I think it's ridiculous. Well, I don't know who's right or who's wrong. I think that the situation's ridiculous.
The situation,
I think that there should not have been this level of miscommunication.
I do.
Some signals got crossed, dude. It's a ridiculous situation. If this happened at Texas, I think the fans should be rightfully incensed. They say, how could the wires have gotten crossed like this?
What happened with
you're telling me that this guy was expecting. So this guy was expecting. So on just like this, what kind of game of telephone is this? Like who is? You know the game whenever you're a little kid and you whisper in one person's ear and then you go around the circle, right? And you say like, hey, I don't know, like the green Jeep went through the mountains and the guy whispers it to him and then the girl whispers it to the guy next to him and it comes all around. And by the time it gets back around to you, it's like, like I went skiing in Panama or something. It's like completely different, right? How can this have happened to where like the thing that he thought he was getting was $100,000 and the thing that they thought they were giving him was $3,000 a month?
I don't know if it was that as much as one coach maybe didn't talk to the other coach.
All right. It's bad.
I'm not saying telling different stories. I'm saying like one guy promised something, and I think everybody out there knows who that coach in question is. I'm not going to mention because of the connection to Texas, but
is it? Oh, all right. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to. I'm not gonna bash him because we follow each other and I've DM'd with him before, and he's a great dude, and I don't have anything ill to say about him. I think he's a great guy. I don't know anything about the situation other than what I've heard on Twitter. So what I've heard on Twitter is that the quarterback was told a number, and that number was 100,000, like you mentioned, and all he's gotten so far is 3,000. And as you know, it's pretty expensive to live in Las Vegas and own anything in Las Vegas, rent, whatever. And he's got $3,000 to date. And sounds like this week was the threshold because obviously you can't register after that. The one person I heard talk about it had a little bias towards the player because he was a player with the quarterback at Holy Cross. The kid graduated from Holy Cross, which is, I think, an Ivy League school. Very good education, graduate transfer, very good quarterback.
Holy Cross is Ivy League?
I can't remember if it's Ivy League or if it's I get my D3s all.
The chat knows, man. Half this chat's smarter than us.
It's D3. It's a D3. Is it Colonial? It's the Colonial, I think.
Okay.
I think it's the Colonial League. It doesn't really matter, but it's a very prestigious school from a academic standpoint. And so he graduates from there and then transfers to UNLV to play quarterback. He broke all the Holy Cross records as a freshman playing quarterback. Like, I don't think the kid's straight up lying. I think the kid's defending himself. As you know, like I think a lot of this stuff is, we've talked about it on end. It's a very, very gray area. Michael Allen, the running back, is a transfer from NC State, a guy that was as a freshman sought after as a potential NFL, prospect after his freshman season at NC State. I want to say he had at 700 yards his first year at NC State. And now he ends up at UNLV, and I think he had like a knee injury or something. Like these guys, I think went there with an intent and a plan and a goal. And it sounds like potentially there was a massive miscommunication, or it's weird that you would say lack of funds at UNLV with it being Vegas and, their attachment to the Allegiant Stadium. And
very nice facility there. Whenever you drive from the airport just down to the Strip and you see it, I think they've recently just done some upgrades and stuff like that.
Yeah. So Esron, I was wrong about Ivy League. I think it's Colonial. Ivy League's D1, D2. Holy Cross is a D3. I believe.
Esron, isn't Stanford and Rice Ivy League too?
No.
No. What? I thought that they said Rice finally made the Ivy League.
I don't think so.
And then, really? Okay. All right. Maybe
Rice football conference. Rice is in Conference USA.
Well, right, but kind of considered Ivy League schools.
God, I was way off on Holy Cross. I thought for some reason in my brain, wait, my wife's.
I'm not talking about the conference of football. I'm not talking about their sports conference.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm okay.
So the Holy Cross is a Patriot and FCS level. Okay, so for some reason D3 is I think they're D3 for track. I think that's what was in my brain. Doesn't really matter, but in totality, I don't know what the hell I was talking about. But
you were just talking about the UNLV thing. And look, I don't want people in the chat like they're saying like it's not fair for I'm not saying that I think players if you didn't
get paid, you wouldn't show up either. If you could opt out to redshirt and switch jobs, you would do it too. Because based on what he's done so far, he's going to be playing for Vanderbilt next year.
If somebody playing for Vanderbilt,
what do you think? The way this kid's played, if he continued to play all season, this UNLV team was going to compete for that playoff spot. This quarterback is not
come up with it. Yeah, because he was actually good. So, look, my point is clearly, if you're promised, I'm like Sark. I'm like, if you make a deal, you go with the deal. I'm not talking about anything that the kid did bad. I think probably that I have a general kind of small disdain a little bit for these college agents, these college NIL agents in this new world, just because I feel like that they operate. They're out of necessity. They're having to operate in a gray area of things. And to me, that sometimes leads to behaviors that could be viewed as shady or whatever else. Right. So I have just a little bit, I feel like, but hey, look, we live in a capitalist society. Like you go do you, it's totally fine. Right. But generally I'll admit that I sometimes have a little bit of bias at these sort of early stage NIL agents that go and recruit these guys when they're like 16, 17 years old. All right. So I do have a small bit of bias there, but I certainly don't have an anti-player bias. Like if the kid was guaranteed this money, I would tell him if I was his dad, I'd be like, well, you got to get out. Like they're not paying you what they promised, but so, I mean, that's to me, that's as clear as it can get. I guess my point is there's something super messed up about this. Like things don't add up. There's a big difference between $100K and $3,000 a month.
And that's not a lot of money in Vegas from a money standpoint. Not when you watch. I mean, as far as being a college kid and having to pay for stuff, it's a lot of money. Like he needs it. But as far as like a university or a booster coming up with 100,000 to assure that your quarterback doesn't leave the damn school, like Dana White bets that on one hand in blackjack every single night. Like you got to find a booster that can come up with 100K. Like this is, to me, this whole thing just smells to a different level. 100K. That's it. That's all he needed. And he's obviously been asking for it for probably better part of a month, at least. Right? He didn't just say, I'm gone. No, he was like, yo, I need my money or I'm gone. I
Well,
need my
that's
money
how
or
it
I'm
goes
gone. I
whenever
need my
you have
money
it.
or I'm gone.
You know, you know how it goes. Like you're having to go to like these coaches are supposed to know everything about what's going on with their players.
And
Like, of course, you're gonna have to be like, hey, dude, I gotta we gotta get this worked out. Like it would honestly, I'm surprised he's playing so well with having this giant distraction over his head.
they
Imagine
just played
you didn't
they
know if
just
you were
played a
gonna
game of chicken with him. That's all it was. They just were like, well, he said he wants his money, but we're not going to pay it to him. Like, or they really didn't know that they had to give him 100,000. Like, it was not related. One coach related, and the rest of them didn't know it existed. Which
well,
I think would be completely
you
cockamamie.
can't have rogue coaches like that, even if they are dudes like the ex Texas wide
I'm
receiver.
not saying that's what happened. I'm just
Yeah.
saying hypothetically, that's like one of the things that could have been in conversation. But again, like I'm saying, if you can't come up with $100,000 in the course of, imagine if someone's like, I'm going to kill you, come up with $100,000 by the end of the week. Like the majority of people would be like, well, I can't do that. But if you really resourced yourself, you could probably come up with $100,000.
Oh man, I mean,
If you knew you were going to die, right?
Like if your life was on, I don't have 100K. I'd probably
No.
try and figure out a way to do it if my life was at risk.
Bingo. But this is my point, is if you knew you're dead by Friday, if you don't come up with it, you would make phone calls to do so, right? If the UNLV coaches were like, if this kid was like, yo, I need my money, like you don't have to give me 100,000 today, but like I need at least a chunk of it so I can live. And you got till Friday or you got till week 3, and they're just like, no, man, we're playing chicken. Like the whole thing is just gray. It's I don't know what it is, but that's my only problem with NIL is that everything's gray and there's no SPO track. SPO track for the NFL tracks everything. It shows you every dollar, right? Not that it's all 100% correct, but the fact of the matter is it's tracked.
It's actually been shown to be pretty good.
It's effectively tracked, and you have an idea of what's going on. Right now, nobody has a clue other than the player and the coach. And even at this point in this conversation, the player and the coach weren't on the same page to some sort. So regardless,
do you think we're ever gonna get like an overthecap.com or a spottrack.com for NIL?
As soon as RevShare comes out, I think so. Not as soon as, but once RevShare comes out, I do believe so. But I mean, even the RevShare conversation and when that actually goes into effect, I don't know if that goes into effect until 26, 27.
I don't even entirely understand what the whole RevShare thing is, and it feels like Sark doesn't either.
It's all TV money, and it has to be the number that's floated around right now is between 20 and 25 million, and it's not just for football; it's across all sports. And so the belief is that as soon as they say, "Hey, guess what? All these schools get $25 million," it's not just like, well, the football team makes 70 or the football team makes 95% of the money, so the football team gets 95% of the money. That's not how that's going to work. Like the women's sports are going to want half, this sport's going to want this, and it's going to be a bunch of people suing each other. So I think it's worse. I mean, it's going to be a chaotic tizzy of a situation. I don't know if we're going to get like a true cap until 26, 27. That's my soft thought right now.
Sark says that he really likes it that they get their preseason out of the way with these out of conference games and get to play the whole SEC schedule all in a row. He says that that's the way he prefers it. And he says he actually really, really, really does not want to have a late season UTSA type of game. He's saying like, man, I've been in those spots. We've had those games and you're in the mode, you're into your conference play and stuff. He even said like in those spots, it feels like it's a time where you really got to get on your players to not let down in those. And then sometimes you have a tiny bit of a letdown game, and then everybody starts talking about this, and they start talking, things self-perpetuate. It was a really interesting thing for him to kind of admit, that was something that he'd struggled with before, and something that he was glad he wasn't having to deal with this season.
It makes sense though, right? Like,
I get. I mean, it's a very insightful answer. Like, I wasn't expecting him to say something like that.
For a putrid situation like Oklahoma is in right now, having Maine in week 12 is probably going to be nice. But if you're like a Texas and you have Maine the week before Texas A&M, probably not what you want.
What do you think Texas's odds on DraftKings are right now to make the college football playoff? I was just looking at it today because I was Ketchum looked shocked earlier today when I said if Jaden Blue has another week like he had last week, people are going to be talking about him for the Doak Walker Award. He's like, what? He's like,
yeah.
he's like, maybe after 5 more weeks. I said, well, 5 more weeks. Like, no. And so I was being maniacal this morning right after the show. I was trying to look for Doak Walker Ward markets.
First off, there's no other running, like Ashton Genty's the only other running back that's done anything so far.
I know. I'm saying,
if Blue has 4 tuds this week,
of course they're going to talk about him. But so I was just like, maybe I could go find a market on this and I could put it in the team's channel, right? And but I couldn't, but I did. I'm like, oh, college football playoff odds to make the college football playoff. Click on it. What do you think Texas odds are
to make? So it's a yes or no, right?
Yeah. So to make
minus 170,
minus 600
to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Holy
minus 600 to not make the playoffs is plus 340. Isn't that wild? So basically what that means to anybody that's not a complete degenerate gambler, right? So let's say you go to Las Vegas and you want to make a bet on Texas to go to the playoffs, and you're in Las Vegas and you can legally make a bet on this, and you can go back after the playoffs are over when you go for your spring visit, and you can collect your money, right? Okay, a minus 600 bet means that they think you have to put down $600, okay, 600 of your dollars, and if Texas goes to the college football playoff, when you come back to collect your winnings, they'll give you your $600 back, and they'll give you a $100 bill on top of that. A minus 600 is like a lock. It's like that means that they think that it's extremely likely. They're saying you got to put up $600 to make 100 back. So Cody, I could tell by Cody's reaction, he found it about as interesting as I did.
It's like here's my problem with it, and here's the interesting thing. And for those wondering what this is comparable to, right now in the NFL, there's only one team with better odds than that minus 600 to win their division. That's the Chiefs, who are the back-to-back defending Super Bowl champions and head and shoulders better than the Chargers, Raiders, and Broncos in NFL terms. The first thing that comes to mind, Alex, is knowing Ole Miss's schedule, Missouri's schedule. Both are undefeated. There's a reason I put Ole Miss in the SEC championship in my preseason poll. Knowing those two schedules, knowing Texas plays Georgia, and back-to-back weeks. On paper right now, they're favored to win both games, but they're both very tough matchups. And if you drop that Oklahoma game, which I think we all know it's a rivalry game, things happen.
Yeah.
And you lose that game with where Oklahoma's at, you drop to probably 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that range, because you're not undefeated anymore.
That would depend. It would depend on some of the other fallout from around those top 18. But yeah, I think
of course. But you're probably going to fall to 6, 7, 8. The next week, if you don't get right, and you have again, literally, we're staring. What do we start the show with? We're talking about quarterbacks that aren't healthy. You drop that game again. These are all hypotheticals. I'm not saying this has happened. I'm not wishcasting. None of this. I'm being real right now. Minus 600 is like a lock. Like, it's not a mortal, like it's not minus 2,000, which is a mortal lock, but like it's a lock.
Yeah.
Right. And you're saying that no matter what right now, essentially, are they the second best odds to make the playoffs or first best?
I think they were maybe third best.
Okay. So anyway, my point is, your quarterbacks are banged up. Your running backs are completely banged up. Your DBs are completely banged up right now. And they're assuming that in 2 weeks, you're going to go in and blow Oklahoma out. Not blow them out, but you're going to beat them, and you're going to beat Georgia. And those are two games that, if we're being real with each other and honest with each other, they're going to be brutal, tough games that are going to come down to the final score, or the final ball possession, potentially, right? You're also betting on that Kentucky game to just be a win, which it's in DKR. I get that, but Kentucky's going to play everybody tough this year. You got another rivalry game at the end of the year. You got the SEC championship if they make it. If they hypothetically lost 2 SEC games and don't make that championship, like SEC should have 3 or 4, maybe 5 teams in the playoff. But I mean, I just like being real with yourself. Like if they dropped Oklahoma and Georgia,
Georgia's minus 750. I'll tell you the teams that are favorites. Okay. Ohio State's minus 900.
see that like that one I could believe. That one,
Penn
900
State's
is
minus
high.
Penn State's minus 220, so they're a favorite. Georgia's minus 750. Tennessee's minus 300. Ole Miss minus 300. Oregon, and I'm only reading the ones that are minuses, right? I'm only reading the ones that are favorites. Okay, Oregon's minus 400. Miami minus 200.
What's Clemson?
Clemson is plus 200.
Okay, so I'm assuming Miami and Clemson are the 2 highest in the ACC. That's interesting. That's minus 200 plus 200.
Notre Dame is okay, so they're plus 200. Missouri's plus 125.
I
Texas
like those.
Texas minus 600. Alabama's minus 350. And then it's just a bunch of other like plus ones. So those are so I think Texas is what, third in odds behind just Ohio State and Georgia.
What's Oregon?
Oregon, I said it a minute ago, but I forgot. Minus 400. And then to win the national championship, it goes, it's the same order.
I had that in my column.
Okay. Plus 340, plus 360 for
that
Ohio
one,
State and Georgia.
That one flipped this week to Ohio State.
And plus 500 for Texas. Dude, we're not going to get to any of these buy or sells. Do you want to just, since the title of the show is the NFL one, do you want us to do your buy or sell for the NFL draft thing?
Yes, because I put in my column the ADP for these guys, and I had a couple questions about it, and they were like, "Oh, this is wrong." And also, there was a question about like, what kind of situation are we looking at with the offensive linemen to come back? To what kind of NIL situation if they don't hear this, hear that? So I wanted to talk about one thing, or 2 things really: Kelvin Banks and Cam Williams in one together. Do you know the last time, Alex, that Texas had one offensive lineman drafted in round 1?
Would it have been trying to think?
It was before. It was. I think it was when you were in college.
I probably wouldn't have remembered. Was it like
back-to-back years, 2001, 2002?
Oh.
Top 5 picks.
That was like when I was in college. Like I was in college, I would go to the games and kind of follow the team and stuff, but I wasn't as maniacal about knowing who the offensive linemen and stuff all were. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Mike Williams was tackle for the Buffalo Bills. He was the 4th overall pick in 2002.
I should have known. Everybody know who that dude was on campus. I should have known.
And Leonard Davis was the year before. He was
second. Oh, Leonard Davis, of course, to the Cardinals, right?
He was 2nd overall. So it's back-to-back years. They had a guy in the first round. Before that, there was a handful in the 90s at both tackle and guard. But there's been no offensive lineman drafted in round 1 since 2002, 4th overall. My buy or sell question for you, Alex, is Cam Williams is a top 32 pick in the 2025 NFL draft as of today.
I don't think he is as of today, but I think he's trending towards it, and I think he might eventually get there. I've been trying to, dude. I was telling Ketch and Onwarrant, because we have the War Room chat, and Ketch was the other day was asking, he's like, hey man, if you get to talk to any of your NFL scouting friends or whatever, ask them what they think about some of these guys. It'd be good for War Room stuff. And I'm going to really try and get some of that I've been trying, but I'm going to really try next week to make sure and get it, because I think it would be good for bye week content. But like no one's getting back to me. Like a bunch of even my friends aren't getting back to me about this thing. I've been trying to ask about Cam Williams to them. But I had heard from people before, right, about Cam, that he was definitely popping up on radars and stuff, and people asking about him, and the type of people that ask about him. The reason why they're asking about him is because there's legit interest there. I'll just go ahead and say it. Agents, But the stuff I get from agent, like, it's not going to be useful for me to tell you what the agents are saying right now, because half these agents are calling me to ask me what I think of these players. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think once we get the intel from the agents starts getting really good towards the end of October, because that's whenever they've gathered all their information from the scouts, and they're having to get their marketing budgets together for the marketing advances that they're going to have to give these guys the minute that their eligibility is up, and that stuff gets negotiated usually right at the very end of the kind of end of October, coming into November for the last few games of the season. So, because they need agents who are going to be there with them right as they get their Senior Bowl invites, their Shrine Bowl invites. Do I accept this thing? I can't tell you in any official capacity. I'm not your agent yet, but there's no way in hell you're going to the Senior Bowl, right? And so he knows he has to decline the invite. That's just how it works. So those guys will be more helpful now. Right now, they're still information gathering, and they're saying, do I really want to give this guy up $150K marketing bonus to send him down to Bonaritos and Miami, right, or to MJP and Frisco. So I think he can eventually be a first round pick this year, but I don't think he is yet. And I don't have any information from anybody that makes me think that it's a lock, that it's bound to happen.
Second part to the first round conversation. If there's 2 tackles, it'll be Cam as the second one, because Kelvin's pretty much a lock. Kelvin Banks is the best offensive tackle you've graded since Jake Matthews.
No, that's not right. Who was better? Man, maybe I can just look and see some of the grades I had just real quick on some of these dudes. Let me tell you, the best offensive lineman or the best offensive tackle?
Tackle.
Oh.
Well, I mean, get lineman. If you got a better lineman, I mean, probably Quentin Nelson, maybe.
I didn't do Quentin Nelson like this. Okay. I was out of this business. So these are going to be guys. These are going to be guys from the 20. What class was Jake Matthews? From either his class or the class within 3 classes of him.
Was it 14?
Maybe something like 2013 or 2014, like right
14,
around there.
14.
Yeah. Let me just look and see. I'm just trying to. I know this is. Maybe you could help remind. I know I had. I know I had like Zach Martin, but that was after. Was Zach Martin?
Martin was 15, wasn't he?
Can you look and see what year Zach Martin was? I know if Zach Martin was
2014.
Yeah,
so Greg Robinson, Jake Matthews, Taylor Lewan, and Zach Martin in the same class.
I would have had Zach Martin ahead of him. I would have had. Let me just here. Okay. I found a list of them. So let's see here. Yeah, Zach Martin, Joe Bitonio, and Larry Warford would have graded higher than Banks.
Much higher?
They were getting like 86s.
Okay.
And Jake Matthews once got a 90.
Jeez.
Yeah. So Kelvin's getting first round. Like Kelvin's like I like Kelvin as much as say like a Taylor Lewan.
Yeah, they're different players though, a little bit, I would say.
Oh, what God, much different. Much different. One's smooth and one's nasty. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can email us, fwfemails@gmail.com. I already have now final takes for tomorrow. We didn't even get to my buy or sell questions, and I got some really, really good ones. Please like the show. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much for coming back every show to be here with us. Thanks to Poncho Outdoors. Thanks to Texas Beef Traders. You can follow us on X at Cody Carpentier, at Alex Dunlap NFL. We'll be back tomorrow, as we always are, on Football with Friends. We love you guys. It would not be a show without you. Again, thank you so very much for watching. We respect your time. We know it's very valuable. We appreciate you being here. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.